Hello everybody, welcome to another round of Modern. My name is Dylan from Alternate Universes, and let's see what we have going on today. On the left we have Will Lozanak playing Living End, and on the right we have Michael Mapson playing 5-color Creativity. The brightness is a little high on that camera, so hopefully that gets fixed a little bit. Alright, so Mapson leading with a John Triumph. That is Zayator's Proving Ground. I'm actually really proud of remembering myself for that one. It's the Triumph I've probably played with the least. Will, evoking a Grief by exiling the Living End, playing a Botanical Sanctum. Let's talk about these decks. Let's talk about what they want to do, if you don't know what they want to do. Living End is pretty simple. Primarily, you're going to be cycling large creatures into your graveyard by their cycle effects. Some of them have different activated abilities. There's a giant turtle that has a evoke ability. That's how you get it into the graveyard. And then around turn 3, turn 4, assuming you have a bunch of dudes in the yard, you cast either Shardless Agent or Violent Outburst, which are two spells with Cascade on them, where you will exile or look at cards from the top of your deck until you find something with lower CMC than the card you just cast. Well, the only card in the deck that is lower CMC than Shardless Agent and Violent Outburst is Living End, which is a 0-mana sorcery. It has Suspend, how you would typically cast it. And yeah, it exiles both graveyard, or I think it words it where it exiles both graveyards first, then each player sacrifices all the creatures they control, and then all the exiled creatures in the graveyards come into play. So it's a board wipe, but also lets Will put a crap ton of power into play. And then 5-color Creativity is pretty simple, honestly. You play Indomitable Creativity using, words. Sorry, still early in the morning. On turn 4, you will fetch a Dwarven Mine to create a 1/1 dwarf token, and then use Indomitable Creativity for X equals 1 to blow up the dwarf, and then you reveal cards on top of your deck until you can do a creature or artifact. The only creature or artifact in the deck is Archon of Cruelty. You put that into play, and then you probably win the game from there. Archon is a very difficult card to deal with. We've seen that with Esper Reanimator in Modern, having its stint where it was pretty good. It's a little weaker right now, I believe, but Archon is still a house of a card. So yeah. Mapson going to a 4-mana here. Currently has a Rogan Triome, Proving Ground, and Sacred Foundry in play. That Space Shockland. As always, I will attempt to have deck lists in the comments. The creativity list might be a little bit different. Depends on how lazy I am. And by lazy, I mean this is my creativity deck that's getting played. My main board and sideboard are different than the one posted on Goldfish. The main board's pretty similar. I'm just playing Teferi Time Raveler over a couple cards. My sideboard is strange, so I'll get around to making that hopefully. But Will's Living End deck is your stock Living End, at least that I know of. If there's anything weird in the comments, I'm sure Will let us know as he watches the channel. I appreciate that greatly. Alright, so here comes Dwarven Mine. Dwarven Mine recognizes there are 3 other mountains in play, so it'll come in untapped, and because it came in untapped, it will create a 1/1 dwarf token using that Carnage token. Alright, passes the turn. And in the upkeep, going to cast Ice to tap down the Botanical Sanctum. Very reasonably, I think just taking and hoping that Will has Shardless Agent and not Violent Outburst, but as we see, he has a Violent Outburst in hand. Instant speed Cascade spell. And we're going to see what I was talking about, where all the creatures will enter the yard, enter play from the yard. And Will's going to put a crap ton of power on the board. He's also going to get a bunch of triggers. Grief will let, him look at maps of hand. And then Architects of Will? It's either, no, I think it's Architects of Thought. The Dimir artifact creature. You can look at a player's top 3 cards of their deck and rearrange them in any order.
Sorry, I forgot about this trigger. I'm gonna look at the top 3 cards of your library.
The coffee today, much colder than I expected it to be. It's okay, we'll make another cup before round 2. I think both of these decks are really well positioned in the format. I think Creativity, and I can't be biased, I just built the deck. I think Creativity is one of the best decks in the format, probably in the top 3. I know Andre Mangucci just posted a video where he played a league with it and claimed it was the best deck in Modern. I don't know if I exactly agree with that. It could just be a player skill thing. He is objectively a much better player than I. Alright, so Mapson is scoop it up. Will's going to take game 1. Mapson unable to deal with the board state, which is reasonable. In game 2, Mapson on the play. Once again leading on his eye towards Proving Ground, drawing it like it is his job. Will leading on Botanical Sanctum. Effectively, the same turn 1 for both players, but Will did not have Grief this game. Or at least didn't have a card to pitch to Grief. I don't know if I want to claim that he doesn't have the card. Maybe he has the Living End in hand, but not the Grief. So both decks are objectively really strong. Living End, I feel like, is always on the cusp of being one of the best decks in the format. It's just one of those things that, like, if you don't have sideboard hate for this deck, you're just going to get blown out. Or you have to be faster than it. And I don't necessarily think the other decks in the format are faster. Yeah. I've always found game 1 against Living End to be rough. Games 2 and 3 gets a little bit better because you can sideboard stuff. At least in 4 color. Like I had chalices and I could try and stick it to Fairy or a chalice and it would work a little bit better. Alright, cycling a striped Riverwinder here. I feel like I've committed too many Living End creatures names to memory. Not that I know all of them, but I know a chunk of them, and it's kind of interesting. Because I'll pause on lands that I've definitely played a million times. And it's like, oh crap, what is the name of the red-blue fast land? Spire Bluff Canal. But I'll be like, oh, that's a Striped Riverwinder. That's a Curator of Mysteries. I've played Living End in passing with my coworkers a couple times. We played the mirror once, and it is an abysmal mirror. It is really weird. Alright, Matt's fetching out a Catcher Triumph. Has perfect mana. All 3 Triumphs in the deck are in play. It's interesting. So the sideboard here, there's a lot of interaction. I believe Mapson sided in 10 cards, if I remember. I think this is the round we talked about him sideboarding 10 cards in. And I guess because it's my deck, I could talk about what he sideboarded. So I know he sideboards Test of Talents, Hallowed Moonlight, Veil of Summer, and what was the other one? 4, 6, 8. There's 2 more cards. 2. To go get the deck out of my bag. At Dwarven Mine, making a dwarf token. This time, Doc Ock. Channeling the Sky Turtle. What else did he sideboard? Didn't sideboard Alpine Moons, Fails. Oh, Fluster Storm. That was the other one. I was like, I know we talked about him sideboarding in 10 cards. He showed it to me as he... as he did so. Alright, Will cycling a Architect here. Drawing a card.
Play a land.
Going to play Misty as land for turn.
Cards in hand.
How are we doing today, folks? What decks are you playing in Modern right now? fetch it with that Misty. Is in a decent position to just slam Shardless Agent here. Though Mapson having 4 mana open for interaction, a little terrifying. Hello? We are fastly approaching Halloween. Is anyone doing a Magic the Gathering Halloween costume? Here comes the Shardless Agent. Gotta reveal cards from the top deck until we find something lower CMC. We saw Endurance coming in from the sideboard for Will. As a living end.
Would you like to look at my cards?
Epson's going to cast Test of Talents. This will counter target instant or sorcery. And then, if it is countered, I believe,
Alright, one from the hand.
you get the Surgical your opponent for that card.
Draw a card.
So Matt's will be able to look through Will's deck and hand and find all copies of Living End and exile them.
Drawing cards out.
And then Will would get the draw for any that are in his hand. Test of Talents is a counterspell that I've really been interested in since it came out, which was in Strixhaven School of Mages. Yeah, counter target instant or sorcery, search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. And then that player shuffles and draws cards for each card from hand. It's 1 in a blue. It only hits instants or sorceries, but there's a lot of good instant and sorcery decks at the moment. Like Living End, Creativity itself, Team Escape Shift, which we've notably featured on the channel a good bit. It also can just like come in against random things. I played Creativity at the Home Store Championship, and I played against the Bant Coco deck, the Silver Collected Company deck that Spike made, and I used it on a Time Warp. But the idea was to use it on Collected Company. It wasn't bad on Time Warp either, but
As much as I don't really want to show you more sideboard cards in my deck, Racing Bull, we're going to cantrip this.
I'm going to use Hallowed Moonlight as a cantrip here.
Creatures. Battlefield. Okay.
If you don't know what Hallowed Moonlight does, it's a very effective card against Indomitable Creativity. Until end of turn, if a creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead, and you draw a card. It is very good.
Combat. Yep. Super 2.
Also, pretty good in this matchup too, as it just reads that Will's graveyard gets exiled. Yeah. Epson looking for a win con here. That can be like one of the issues with Creativity, quote unquote issues, is that you can't find. Sometimes you just can't find anything. However, this version is playing 4 Creativities, 1 Transmogrify, 2 Persist, and of course you very reasonably can just hard cast Arcana Cruelty. I did it a bunch on Sunday. Wasn't what I wanted to do, but I did it.
Man, you discovered that card?
You just drew another Dwarven Mind for turn.
Discovered that card?
That's the other thing. I drew Dwarven Mind like it was my job. Played against one of our regulars at Bluebell, and I just drew 3 of them in a row. I was like, what am I doing? What? Why? No. So Will is beating in here with Shardless Agent. He can play other creatures. I think he's debating if he wants to play the Subtlety at the end of the turn, which I think is reasonable. There's nothing really that he can Subtlety. I mean, he can Subtlety to Fairy Time Raveler, but he hasn't seen that yet from Abson. And we're a couple turns off of the hardcast Archon.
Combat. 5.
Okay, going to attack in here for 5. Subtlety was one of the incarnations that I was highest on when it was first revealed. I don't know what it was. I think I misread it. But I was like, oh, this is just like straight up Aether Gust. This is crazy. It's not. It's close, but it's not. Straight up Aether Gust. And I'm a little glad that it's not, to be honest with you. The amount of times that my Titans have been Aether Gusted, I don't want to deal with it. You can Aether Gust or Resolve Titan.
I'm gonna play it.
If you like draw it. Alright, playing the Curator Mysteries here. This is going to be Will's game plan. Will is just going to hard cast big things and hope it gets there. However, I do think the minute Mapson finds a way to put an Archon on the board, he's just immediately advantaged.
It's a pretty good play.
It's so funny looking at the Dwarven Mine next to all of the full art lands and the red-haired stepchild that is my Steam Vents. So I do not have the Space Shock ones yet. I have all the other ones for the deck.
I'm gonna ask you to come
Yeah,
get
I have all the other ones for this deck. I have most of the ones for 4-color. I'm just missing Steam Vents.
Pull me maps
And
it's
Breeding
already
Pool.
in your hand.
If it was in my hand, I would have cast it last turn.
I know you're gonna transmute a shred memory and
Right,
get
we've
it
made
from
another
the-
dwarf. Doc Ock is chilling on the board.
I know it.
No, you suck.
Alright. 3 mana. Oh, he has a Prismari Command at hand.
2 damage to that.
It's going to
draw
do 2 damage, draw 2, discard 2.
Actually, it does. Violent Outburst
We are
only
going
gives
to
+1
loot.
to that, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like the shock
So
effect
when you're looting
of
for two,
Prismari Command is the least effective in my opinion.
I'm gonna cycle in
Will's going to
response.
cycle here.
Scry.
This will allow him to scry because of Curator Mysteries. I think he's trying to find a Force of Negation.
Draw a card.
Draw a card.
Cycle.
Draw a Street Wraith. Gonna cycle. Gonna scry.
Bottom. Draw a card. Okay.
I believe this is Will's first time playing Living End. He's playing it pretty well. Alright. Draw 2, discard 2. Dropping the Archon into the yard. He does have a Persist as well. So he's able to bring that Archon straight up into play. Deliberating on the other thing to discard. We see a Flusterstorm, a Fire and Ice, a Persist, and a Dwarven Mine in hand.
What was the other one? Steam Nuts.
Yep.
Alright, I'm gonna make another dude. This time Carnage is coming into play.
Persist.
Persist. Target Archon. Archon's gonna trigger. Mapson's gonna draw a card, gain 3 life. Will is going to lose 3 life, sacrifice a creature or planeswalker, and discard a card.
Gotta
Did you
discard.
get both of our lives?
Yeah.
Okay. It should be 9 Pass you.
Now, because of Persist, it'll enter with a -1/-1 counter. So, it's only a 5/5 now.
Stuff we're gonna need.
Heavy quotations on the word only.
What I'm deck thinning for, but I'm gonna need it.
I wonder if the plan for Will was to, if it was to find Force of Negation. I'm confused a little bit as to why he didn't fetch to try and deck thin before doing the Scry Draw shenanigans. It's very minimal deck thinning, but it might have been able to get him there. Who knows?
Untap.
Yeah, I'm going to draw.
Cycle,
I unfortunately don't think there's a way for Will to win this game here.
Bottom.
He is basically dead to the Archon attack. And he already channeled his Sky Turtle.
Cycle. Scry. Bottom. Draw.
Unless he plays another copy, Sky Turtle would be a good way to get out of it.
Game 3.
Alright, Will's going to scoop it up.
That was
So you could also find Endurance. Endurance would be decent just because like you can play it.
that cantrip is 1 and a white, right?
Sack one of the creatures and then be able to block the Archon. It buys you a turn. But alright, that's what's going to take game 2. Just going to hypercut the game 3 in just a second. We'll be right back.
But also something. And they made such a big deal.
And we're back in game 3, folks. And then we're going to do that thing, the YouTube thing. We're going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe because we would appreciate that greatly. Helps with the algorithm and all that stuff. Will's going to lead on a Scalding Tarn here. Mapson going to do the same thing. Going to fetch and shock a Steam Vents. No, I highly doubt that's what Mapson will do. I imagine Mapson will be fetching a Triumph. But Will be cycling something here.
Where you live?
If he isn't, I'd be very
On
surprised.
my way home, conveniently. So I can literally be
Cycle.
stuff on
Alright, there comes the Architect's Will.
go beat Dylan up, get my stuff back. Never be
draw a card.
welcome in AU again because I assaulted an
What
employee.
are you cool? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, that would be
2,
right.
2, 4,
I would
2.
have it
Yeah,
right.
he did cycle draw 4 Veils.
I have it back.
Yeah, right.
Don't ban him, but he beat the shit out of you.
Alright, maps and fetching. Going down to 19. Just had to run upstairs and switch my wash over. Work from home day, also laundry day. Very convenient. Gets a Roggen Triumph. Plays a Bloodstained Mire, passes it on. We're going to cycle a Waker of Waves. I don't know if Waker actually has a cycle effect on it. But you get to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one into your hand, one into the graveyard. Gets a mystery card. Bins a Grief. Am I checking to see if Waker of Waves actually says cycle on it? Yes, because I'm kind of curious.
Go to 15.
Nope, this is an activated ability.
Go to 13.
Alright, cycling a Street Wraith, going down to 13.
It's going to be a scary living end if it resolves.
If it resolves, yeah. Pretty big if.
Kind of hoping you'd miss some lands.
We
Nothing
have-
personal.
Oh, yeah.
But
Brazen Borrower, another Waker, Shardless Agent, and a land in hand, it looks like.
yeah.
Absent playing very passively here, not trying to play into Will's potential Violent Outburst, which is also why he didn't fetch at the end of Will's turn, because if he fetches, Will can Violent Outburst in response. Before Mapson has the mana to interact with the living end. However, now that he has 2 fetches, he'll be able to comfortably do so.
Yeah, 'cause I was going to say, like, you know, if you weren't, I would just build Phoenix
He's
and have
fetch once during Will's turn.
I will be there. I will either play or I will run.
I think I might go to the Caps on Saturday. I don't know.
I have to.
Will fetching a basic forest. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think I knew Living End played basics. I guess it makes sense because of
Do it tomorrow.
you can still cast Violent Outburst through a Blood Moon.
Be there, but if you do it Wednesday,
Do they play a basic island?
Target you.
I guess it wouldn't be that bad, right?
Draw.
Alright, flashes Endurance in at the end of the turn. Attacks in for 3. Will's going in for Creature Beats.
That was not the violent outburst I was expecting.
No one expects surprise endurance.
Look at the bottom, how much they normally are.
for one pair.
No, yeah, I think there is like another.
I'm really hoping there's no.
I'll go to discard.
Absent's just going to draw for turn, pass the turn, and in discard, discard a Arcana Cruelty.
Unstep.
That's not how go to discard works.
Right. Wait, so can I do an action after you go to discard?
No.
Looks like there's a little bit of a miscommunication there about how the discard and the phase turn works, but it's all good. Quickly resolved.
That's gonna be weird.
Combat.
I would have to use that.
3.
Attacks in for 3, put maps in the 13.
Pass.
I gave him the Christmas ones.
Go to 12.
Try them out if you like them. I've got them.
I can already tell you. They're the
Alright, fetches a Catcher Triumph here. Will still stuck on 3 lands. Seemingly has run out of things to cycle.
I said your creativity, sir.
Untap.
Yep.
Mapson has a Is It Charm in hand. Red and 6, Wooded Foothills.
Yep.
What appears to be a Persist.
Cycle.
Yep.
And Cycle Curator Mysteries.
Draw. Combat. Yep. Swing 3.
Cracking in the Endurance once again.
Pass you.
Will the Endurance go the distance? End step going to Is It Charm here. Draw 2, discard 2, probably. Yep. That will be the mode. Pick up a Fire and Ice. It looks like double Fire Ice? Drops Fire Ice Archon.
Got an 8.
Okay.
Gonna fetch here with a Wooded Foothills. It's a snow-covered mountain.
Excellent taste in Mountain Dome.
Thank you. I don't have the space one yet. Really? Islands are $20? Yes, I know. I hate it.
I couldn't find it out for the longest while, so I looked at your graveyard.
Oh, casts Red and 6.
Oh, that's right. You didn't buy one. What's up? You know,
Round
I
6
went.
resolves.
So it was in my creativity.
Ren will resolve.
I was gonna say, I thought I.
Bites back to Bloodstained Mire.
Oh, we didn't even.
Passes the turn. Imagine where he maps and fetch the Jun Triumph into Will's turn. That or the Blood Crypt.
Cycle.
Cycle a Curator.
Tap. Draw.
Yep.
Combat.
Yep.
Swing 3 at you.
Cracks in for 3, puts maps in the 5.
7 cards in hand. Go ahead.
How about a 4?
Okay.
Fetch will put him down to 4. I think debating if he wants to fetch again. 'Cause even if Will living ends here, Mapson's in a decent position. He'd get 2 Archons into play, 2 triggers, and then this is during Will's unstep. Mapson will just get to attack with the 2 Archons, and I think at that point most of Will's board gets sacrificed, and Mapson has gained 12 life, and Will has died. Alright, I'm going to make a dwarf. I think we're still debating on doing something in the end step. Nope. Okay. Has a bunch of creativities in hand.
Yep.
Has access to 6 mana. Just passes a turn.
On your end, so. Bounce your token.
It's going to channel
Using that,
the turtle on the token.
or thinking about using
The token
it.
has been ejected from the game. Mapson can fetch and just make another one to block the endurance here.
Combat.
Land is cheating. Thinking about combat.
Can also just ice the endurance before combat. There's a helicopter
Force negation.
flying above my house. That is not typical. So I apologize if you heard that noise in the background. That was loud too. For my mic to pick it up. At least I saw
Test
like
talents out.
the wave bar moving. So I'm assuming I picked it up. So Will's force or casting force negation response here. We know Mapson has interaction. I think he's just debating what he wants to use, so he'll spell pierce it. Gets to draw his card off the ice. The endurance has been tapped down. Mapson's going to probably fetch a Dwarven Mine here. Just make another dude. Yep. Doc Ock has come back to play. Doc Ock
Be
returns.
within my character to do so.
Second appearance of Doc Ock.
Can't see it happening
Well.
right now, though.
I guess second appearance would be the following issue that he's in. But, you know. Second time
Somebody made
he's
a
the
thread
villain
feel bads
of
on
a
Twitter.
mini arc in the Amazing Spider-Man comics.
Somebody made a thread of feel bads
To
on
fetch again.
Twitter.
Probably getting another dwarf. Nope, getting a steam vents. Okay.
I got dumpstered by rhinos, and at the end he goes,
I was
oh,
like,
I can draw my
I could see the
diamonds."
double or creativity for 2 here. That would make sense.
I wanna see
Creativity
what
for 1's also pretty good. I guess reasonably, since there's already 2 Archons in the yard, if you creativity for 2, and something happens to the 2 that you put into play, and the 2 in the yard, it could be an issue. Alright, so we're going to... It looks like he's debating on the creativity for 2. Alright, decides to do X equals 1.
The new one.
Popping the new one. Goodbye, Cletus Cassidy. I need to find my green goblin token for my goblin shaman. We'll go into force negation again in response. We know we know Mapson has the Flusterstorm.
I really wanted that.
You can still have it. I don't know what's in your hand.
I think debating if he wants to let the force resolve and just creativity again next turn. That way he has Flusterstorm in case Will does have a living end spell.
I think it's fine if you got it. I'll fluster it.
Ops to cast Flusterstorm.
Yeah, no response to that.
Right, creativity's gonna resolve.
Yeah, I was probably just supposed to let it happen. Thinking about this more.
You're like, this horrible matchup, and there's 10 sided
Archon.
cards in that pile alone.
Yeah.
Will gonna take a look at all the cards.
These were from Graveyard? Yeah.
Give it a read to Shadow Prophecy. Shadow Prophecy is a really cool card. One of my favorite ones, honestly, to resolve in the deck. It feels good to 3 mana, look at the top 5, put 2 cards in your hand. Put the rest of the yard.
Resolve Archon Trigger.
It's like the black version of Memory Deluge.
Bye-bye Endurance.
Bye-bye Endurance. I'm figuring out what to say bye-bye to in my hand. That's a good idea.
Okay, Archon is coming into play. Archon has triggered. The white balance on the camera just lost its mind. Will, yeah, they will debating on what to discard here.
Tap for
Tax in for 1 with the token.
Moment of truth. Shardless.
Look at that was how that.
Is it happening?
I'm going to cast Alan Moonlight, and then I'm moving
Mind if I read that?
Well, when it resolves.
No, I know.
But
Mind if I read that?
Absolutely. Jumping the gun a little bit there.
Creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast.
Alright,
Exile.
finds the living end. Living end's gonna get cast. Matt's gonna get the draw card.
Gotcha.
And all the creatures that would enter play are getting exiled.
which is why I thought about not doing that. So I will draw my card off of Moonlight.
Would you like to take a look?
Not really.
Oh, right, sorry.
The shardless is fun. It says in the building.
Yes.
Oh, right, so it's on the stack. Yeah, I'm bad at this game.
Shardless Agent will resolve.
And for turn, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't know how many cards for this matchup he had in his board. But he has them because it's a bad matchup.
True.
What, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the other stuff like Flux is in for other things, but yes.
He's able to display the Dwarven Mine, make a friend, blow the friend up,
Creativity of the guy.
and Will is going to concede. That is going to be game 3 going to Michael Mamson on 5-color creativity. Thank you for watching, folks, and have a great rest of your day.
I brought in 2 endurance, 2 subtlety, because I don't